le temps que les photographes finissent de s'affairer.
Hello, thank you.
Le temps que les photographes finissent de s'affairer, just a few more minutes for the photographers to operate. Je vous rappelle la routine si vous voulez poser une question. Soyez assez gentil de lever la main un petit peu à l'avance. Quand vous aurez le micro, de vous lever, de vous présenter, de poser votre question, puis de vous rasseoir et de rendre le micro d'avance. Merci. Let me remind you the routine. If you want to ask a question, please raise your hand a little bit ahead of time. A, so we can see you. B, so we can have the microphone directed to you. When you have the microphone, please stand up, introduce yourselves.
If they ask me a question, tell them to shout because I'm half deaf.
Yes, sir. Ask your question, then sit down and give the mic back. And if you want to ask, as asked immediately, I mean a few seconds ago, if you want to ask a question to Mr. Iggy Pop, please shout it. Messieurs les photographes. Merci. Bonsoir à tous et bienvenue à la
Welcome to the press conference on GIMME Danger.
Hello everyone and welcome to the press conference for GIMME Danger, which is shown out of competition at midnight screening tonight, actually. With us today, next to me, one of the two producers, and almost at the far end of the table, the other producer, Mr. Fernando Titien and Mr. Carter Logan.
Thanks, Carter. Thanks, Fernando.
Sitting next to Mr. Logan at the far end of the table, he was in the audience during our previous press conference with Mr. Jarmusch for Patterson, the chief editor, Afonso Gonçalves. Director Jim Jarmusch. And sitting next to him, a man, a character, a person, a personality that is, at least in the production notes, described as a combination of Nijinsky, Bruce Lee, Harpo Marx, and Arthur Rimbaud. No offense. Read pure rock and roll, read pure pioneer rock and roll, read Mr. Iggy Pop. I shall add this to Mr. Pop's presentation, Mr. Pop, sorry. Presentation, the fact that he already appeared in Coffee and Cigarettes, directed by the gentleman sitting next to him. Also in Dead Man, directed by the gentleman sitting next to him. Also in The Brave, directed by his Dead Man co-star, Johnny Depp. Oh, that...
Crybaby, too.
And that has nothing to do with the director present here today. He was in John Waters' Crybaby. Am I missing any of them?
You got it.
Okay. And the first question will probably go to Jim and perhaps to the chief editor. Jim, you described this as less a documentary than an essay and actually a love letter. And B, where on earth did you find the footage of the Stooges era?
Well, you know, there is a limited amount of Stooges footage, film footage, and all of it really Stooges fans have seen. So all of the stuff that was known. So we were able to, with the help of Carter Logan and also with Mr. Osterberg, we were able to track down a lot of stuff that, well, not a lot, but quite a bit of stuff that no one's seen before. The film itself, in its style, is kind of a collage. Our intention was to make something somehow close to the Stooges' music, which is not easy to do with film, but that means let it be wild and messy and funny and heartfelt and emotional and strong, and we did our best. But to find these things, of course, Jim, Iggy helped us connected us to get some music and photographers and stuff. And then Afonso and also Adam Kernitz, a co-editor. But Fonzie found so much interesting footage to illustrate these things. So our film has things from TV commercials and odd industrial footage and newsreel things and lots of things and photographs that Fonzie and Adam too, but Fonzie discovered and shaped these things. And then Carter Logan, with the help of Ariel de Saint-Phal and other people working with us, got the rights to this stuff, which took 1 full year of full-time, maybe even more, to find this stuff, who did it, what's the photographer, how do we get the rights, etc. So it's a quite complicated thing. So all of these people and more that I'm not mentioning helped to put this thing together.
Monsieur Fonzie?
Monsieur Fonzie, I like
yeah, like Jim said, we had to get very creative with the footage because there was just not a lot of it. So a lot of times you see the footage and what we did, it would just flip. So Ron all of a sudden plays with his hand, or they play, it's all reversed, but we're using the same footage, or we just blew it up, or we slow it down. When they talk about then we got very literal. They talk about the Three Stooges, so we're like, why not using the Three Stooges? And sort of illustrating and sort of make it fun and make it the way Iggy tells the stories are so alive that it was just like, let's just go with it. And we tried to go as creative and crazy as we could, and then we just show it to Jim, and then we kind of tone it around it, but we're just having fun with the footage, I think.
Cool. Mr. Pop, did you have any kind of footage of photographs from that time? Did you keep anything, or did you just throw it away?
I'm a throwaway guy. So.
Okay.
but I knew a lot of people who would. So I contacted them all on behalf of the film and Jim, and I said, give this guy what you got. Give him, find more stuff. So fans and old drug dealers and bootleggers, strange followers, things like that. That was the idea. But no, I can't think of anything I had. Oh, I had a picture of my mom and dad, my beautiful parents. I had that. And they're in there.
Jim, you wanted to add something?
No, I just wanted to say that also here, someone who helped clear all these rights, and she's here too, is Sierra Bedinggill, who was incredible working with us too. She's here, and anyway, thanks to her.
A lot of people don't know this, but in any music film, you have to clear, when you hear a piece of music, and you see it also, you have to clear the visual image, but you also have to clear the sound recording and then the intellectual writer's rights. So any little snippet, there are 3 different clearances. And then I was shocked when they were able to get the Wild One with Brando in there, and High School Confidential's in there, and the Howdy Doody Show, which I was thrilled about.
Soupy Sales too.
Yeah, Soupy Sales. So it's complicated anyway.
Question over there. Brian?
And get out from behind the photographers here. Hi, Brian Johnson from Maclean's magazine.
Hold on, no, photographers, please sort of.
I can move over a bit. In Canada. Congrats on the film, and thanks very much for making it. Long overdue. A question for both Jim Jarmusch and Mr. Pop, which seems to be the way we're going to be referring to. First of all, Iggy, I think at the beginning of the film it says, Jim, they use your real name, Jim Osterberg, portrays Iggy Pop, and I'm interested in the alter ego and how much distance there is between the very sensible, calm, mature guy who's talking to us in the film, in the interviews, and the wildcat on stage. And how do you reconcile, is it really one person, or do you create another personality? And very quickly, my other question for Jim would be, what first turned you on to Iggy Pop, and can you remember that moment for us?
Before I answer you, Brian, I want to go back to what you asked me about if I had anything I was able to contribute. I have my memories.
You do.
I had my memories. The Brian, the Iggy Jim thing, I don't know how it works, but like, for instance, right now, you know, you're talking to Iggy Pop, but Jim is in control of the interview. So we kind of work like that, the two of us.
Jim?
Yeah, but I also want to add, yes, the
Jim Osterberg, I meant.
Jim Osterberg.
Not Jim Jarmusch.
No, Jim Osterberg, I'm not in control of anything. I just wanted to say, yes, his memories are the guide of the structure of this film, obviously. So that's a big contribution. Well, for me, I'm from the Midwest also. I'm from Akron, Ohio. When I was a teenager, and I'm not, Jim's not that much older than me, but he was, for me, the biggest, most important bands that broke my mind open in rock and roll were the MC5, the Stooges, and the Velvets, the Velvet Underground from New York. I was not so interested in the West Coast thing. My friends and I were not so interested in, obviously we were aware of like British invasion stuff before. I was a Stones fan. My sister loved the Beatles, so we had a little conflicts a little bit. But for me, the Five, the Stooges, the Velvets were the things that when I was a teenager, we were huddled up in some basement in Akron listening to this stuff and getting strength from it.
Question over here.
Karen Batt for Huffington Post. Amazing historical context to this documentary as well, the collage effect. And I was wondering, a question for both of you. For Iggy Pop, how did it feel watching this movie and seeing yourself in this context of the 60s and 70s where you pulled together an homage to an era of the energy and the dynamism of this period? How did it feel watching yourself in the context of all the films and clips and newsreels that he put together? Did you remember those films? Did you remember those clips? Did it bring back that time for you? And can you comment on how this for you is also bringing to life a time, an artistically rich time?
For my part, I saw the film for the first time last night, and it really hit me. Oh, Christ, I'm a product of those times. And at the time, you just accept you accept this is what's going on, and I fucking hate it, and it sucks, but that's the way things, you know, you always accept. And I guess it's come with my age. I know what today is, but I don't accept it the same way. I feel like it's fleeting. But I didn't know that then, and it hit me with the film. And when I saw the footage of John Sinclair and just the way people dressed and the whole, the bongs and the naked bathing and all that, you know, all that stuff. Even the old clip of Rod and Ronnie with their bottle of Mateus. You know, those were the times, and it was a BFD for me.
Yes, in the film, John Sinclair was just mentioned, and he's mentioned in the film, and he's also mentioned in a way where the Stooges, Iggy made a decision not to go to the Democratic National Convention, which erupted in incredible violence. I remember being a teenager and watching that on a little black and white TV and just starting to cry because seeing people who I also had these same beliefs and wanted to run out and be a street fighter in this period because of our beliefs and our reaction to the Vietnam War and this slowly creeping corporatization that now is everywhere on this planet. So, and I gotta say, John Sinclair, we maybe don't quite give him due in this film because he was and he's still, I think he lives in Europe. But,
yeah, he's in Amsterdam.
And he writes about avant-garde jazz, and for me, he's quite an important character. He's not a central figure in the film, but it's a central part of the MC5, helping the Stooges, adopting them.
Yes.
And so he was important to me, his ideas, and he opened up a lot of things. But yeah, this whole period was a different thing, and yeah, it's sort of shocking when now at my age to look back and remember like what was happening, what was going on back then.
Our band, the Stooges, did not belong at that Democratic convention because we weren't idealistic guys about that. We were idealistic about something else, and I didn't want to go fake it. I wouldn't have minded I've gotten a bloody head every fourth gig, all my life, but that wouldn't have been a big deal. But it was wrong for us anyway. But it was, there was always that at the time. It's sort of like there's a line in one of his films where an Indian guy points at a black guy, so hitmen pointed at an Indian guy and go, "What are you?" And in the 60s, that was racial, that film, but in the 60s, it was like, "What are you? Are you done with the beads and fringe? Okay, cool, we get that, you're a hippie." Or, "What are you? Are you a White Panther?" And it was all, we just didn't accept any of it.
But there's something odd I've thought about a lot recently because I love the MC5 and their overt politics.
That's okay.
But there's something, in a way, I realize historically, and I still love the MC5, but in a way, the Stooges, by avoiding being directly political or didactic, somehow, in looking back, have a stronger political effect in a funny way by not being so pointed. And what they did, that kind of primal unleashing, in the end has a political consequence, or maybe not political as much as cultural consequence that was certainly very important to me and to millions of people now, that are Stooges fans.
The Stooges remained amorphous. In essence, we were sort of like an amoeba that got into your house or something, and you didn't know, well, what is that? Whereas with the MC5, who were absolutely, they were essential. They were the band that they were generous to us. They gave us a platform that was more credible than the psychedelic ballroom where we also played, or the teen clubs. They gave us a spunky beacon to follow, but maybe under John Sinclair's influence, once you outline a political program and take a stance, we all know that then there are stresses and strains within that coalition. And there are people who are going to be going home at night thinking, "God damn it, why can't I just rock?" And somebody else thinking, "God damn it, why aren't you more leftist?" And these, in the end, then of course, once you portray yourself a certain way, there are going to be other people, like a political candidate. As soon as you stand for office, there's going to be some little jerk digging in your past, trying to pull up something against you. So these things are tough on artists. I think.
Yeah, and then another thing, just to continue, the Velvet Underground were definitely avoided being directly political, and yet they are artistic revolutionaries.
Yeah.
And so there are different places where these changes occurred, some more direct and others in a different way.
We listened to them a lot. You know, there was William Burroughs, together with the artist Brian Geisen, invented and promoted something called the cut-up method. And the idea was that language is a virus. And he thought of this before the internet age. And the idea was if everybody would just stop trying to control things and have these programs, words would speak for themselves and lead us into new directions. Ron Aston's genius on his guitar was that he would plug it into the amp and turn it up. And he listened to the guitar and the amplifier talk. He just let them talk. I used to take LSD, and I had a Farfisa organ, and I'd go down in the basement and plug it into an amp and turn it on 10, and I'd just recline with my feet on it and listen to it talk. And there's a lot of that in the Velvet Underground music too, and those are avant-garde ideas, and they crept in. But and that's why so many odd things happen in the history of that group, is that we were just kind of letting things happen. I was on acid on more than several of the clips in the movie when I was young, and I would go from, I'd be feeling very aggressive for 5 seconds and then break out laughing. You know, but you're not supposed to do that if you're like, you know, yeah, right on, you know, so brothers and sisters. So that was a difference in our approach.
Question over here.
Thank you very much indeed for your rock movie, otherwise the movie which is really rocks. I'm from Ukraine, TV channel Inter. As you know, in Ukraine it's a really hard time. Nevertheless, our young people are really inspired by the new wave of rock and alternative bands. So I just wonder your personal opinion, why the rock music is so requested and so necessary for the society, especially during the crisis, and in spite of what kind of land is it? Thank you.
Is he asking if rock music is necessary anymore? Because
not quite.
I don't quite understand. I'm sorry. I know that that it's an archaic form.
No, he's asking, I think, why it's so important.
Oh, why is it so important?
For society, yes.
Yeah, to society, and particularly in where he comes from, which is Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it has a very a strong current of rock music and alternative music.
If it what in the?
There is a very strong current of rock music and alternative, what we call alternative music.
Still alive today.
Or alive again.
I hope so. Personally, I'm not sure that there is, because the digital age has made collecting money so incredibly efficient. And there's now, you know, when we started our band, we didn't know what publishing was. We just gave songwriting credit to everybody in the group because I saw it on the back of a Doors album. I thought it was cool. We didn't know about these things. We didn't understand. We had vaguely about royalties and rights, and it's different now. You can push a button and get rich quick. And I think also there's an argument to be made about the human race's approach to the point where that technology gets to the point where it's going to grip everybody by the shoulders and shake us and then throw us down and get rid of us. Everybody's a little scared about that. And, you know, it was people like Lightning Hopkins, who was a great acoustic blues player, or R.L. Burnside would say, yeah, well, the white people want me to play acoustic, but the electric has more soul. And I think to a certain extent, the old technology, kind of, it was like throwing an amplifier into the spirit of man. Same with LSD, and roiling things up. But now the technology has grown and grown until it's whoa, you know, why don't I just die now? You know, the best I can do with that, I said to myself about 15 years ago, okay, treat yourself like a precious antique. That's the best you can do. And I was on the beach the other day, and some big yob from Serbia, 20 years old, came up to me. Yeah, I like your music. It's very good. And, you know, of course, I listen to the new techno and electronic, but we like that old stuff, too. So what are you going to do? You know, you're going to be polite, and then when the guy walks away, you're going to say, you know, oh, fuck you, Igor, you know. You know, kind of like that.
Question over here, then Jason.
Hi. I'm coming from Israel, honored to meet you. You mentioned LSD. What is your attitude to drugs today? And how your naked torso became part of your persona, of your icon? And do you have any plans to come to the red carpet today short, without shirt, like Julia Roberts came barefoot?
Ooh.
What does he say?
Basically, what? Feeling on drugs today.
What is my feeling?
Yes, and then why no shirt, and then will you come to the
tonight
red carpet tonight with no shirt?
And also, what is your attitude towards drugs?
Would you like me to come to the carpet with no shirt? All right. Well, no shirt it is. I'd been thinking about it, you know. The drugs.
I like the look where you wear a suit.
Well, yeah, that's what it'll be then. Yeah, yeah. I did bring a shirt. I brought a shirt. My manager thinks I should wear a shirt, but I'm not. But it's been decided. The drugs everybody should just drop that shit. Simple as that. I would draw the line at, for me, the best is a very good wine, but weed's okay for most people up to a point, and maybe a little. This is what happens with the drugs. Well, a little wine. Well, how about a little weed? Hey, how about some mushrooms? Well, we're going to take mushrooms. I've got this mescaline. So I don't know, you know. All I could say is I don't drug up anymore. You know, I don't do it. I have wine with dinner, and that's about it.
Sparkling water is fine too, sir. Sparkling water is fine
yes,
too,
right.
sir. Jason, go ahead.
Jason Goldberg from Cineplex.com and Twitch Film. First of all, extraordinary film. Jim, I'm wondering if you can talk about making the transition from having a hero in Iggy Pop to working with him as a collaborator and then telling his story. And Iggy, if you could talk about your own heroes. You mentioned working with the Mother's Invention, working with the blues artists in Chicago. What for you, Mr. Pop, were the people, MC5, those other artists that you listened to when you were 13 that you would want to see lionized in a documentary of this form?
If I could bring them back, you mean?
Sure, if you could bring them back, or just those artists that, like you mentioned, obviously a throwaway thing was.
You mean the artists that were big for me?
Like just working with somebody like Frank Zappa, somebody who was an outsider artist who sort of helped bring you up, but also people that you would be listening to, other heroes for you in the same way that you were a hero for Jim.
Oh, fuck yeah. And, you know, Bo Diddley was the big, Bo Diddley and Chuck Berry, I was listening to really closely for a long time. Not that either was any better than Little Richard or the Everly Brothers or anything, but they were closer to stuff that I thought I could follow. So there was Chuck Berry, there was Bo Diddley, and at the time, I think it was about 10, 15 years ago, I realized I'd turned into Bo Diddley in a way, because it was like he was playing very simple music that was actually complex in its substructure, and people like me could listen to it and build on it, and other people had done that with the music in which I've participated with Ron, Scott, James, and Dave, and Steve and Mike. And then besides them, there was Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, especially the album Freak Out for humor, the Village Fugs for leftist humor. There were the MC5 for the turbo industrial brawn, the Velvets for sort of gloomy, soft porn, you know, sad, weird nihilism, and people like Harry Partch or Berlioz, I was listening to Stockhausen. I was aware of all these, and John Cage. I was aware of him. I was aware of Nam June Paik. There was a cellist named Charlotte Moorman, who she was kind of hot, and in the 50s, as a hot artist chick, you would be limited in what you could do by the male structure. So to get over, she stripped nude, and she had a piece where she played the cello nude while bound. And of course, you know, the real men of the time loved that, but I saw an opportunity in that. I heard about that, and I thought, nude while bound. You know, it sounds like a way in to me. You know, so those were some of the things. But I'm gonna kill myself. I'll get back to the hotel this afternoon, and I'm gonna remember 25 other great artists, like Link Wray, for instance, that I didn't mention. You know, like Link Wray, I remember I was in the student union of the University of Michigan, and I'd already dropped out. But I would go over there. Oh no, I hadn't dropped out. I was cutting class, right? You do that. You go to the union and cut class, right? Yeah. And I was sitting there drinking coffee, and over the PA system of this public state university comes, dun, 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 dun. And this is this raunchy, evil, you know, I'm gonna fight you and fuck you up and switchblade your face music. And it was Link Wray, man. And I thought, my God, it just sounds so bad, you know, and malevolent. But I also thought it's really simple. I could practically do that, you know, so it gave me hope. So stuff like that, too.
Question over there.
Hi, hello to the panel. Mr. Pop, this is a question is directed at you. My name's Natalie Becker. I'm representing Thought Leader Global from Oslo in Norway and CTV from South Africa. My question to you, twofold. First of all, looking at the movie and also looking back at your life, anything you would have done differently? And secondly, looking around you at the world as it is currently and looking at the challenges and the state of the planet, the state of the earth, the state of nations and war, what do you think are the greatest challenges facing humanity? And do you think rock and roll can offer a way forward? rock?
Okay.
According to Iggy Pop. Well, I would say maintaining the proper level of disconnect. I think things are getting too wired up to the point where in my lifetime, I've seen the lakes and rivers get foul to the point where you can't drink the water, and then you can't drink it out of the tap, and you finally have to buy it like this, and everything's become a business, like with Woody Allen's Giant Banana, you know? And it was a Taoist, you know, it was a Taoist concept of utopia, that there would be, humans would live in small settlements, and the village on the left side of the hill would not know anything about the village on the right side of the hill. And I think maybe there's a lot of, I think there's something to be said for that, you know, and that manifests itself in really ugly ways today because unfortunately large groups of people are shoved willy-nilly all the time, and that would be the big one to me, is everybody could just calm the fuck down a little bit. I think everything is, there's a stimulation today that's really intense and maybe needs to be just slowed down. I mean, other than that, what could I say? The world needs love? Yeah. How about that? Yeah. Needs more love, you know? That's true, too.
Question over there.
Sorry. Hi. Donald Clark from the Irish Times. Great treat to, well, I don't know if I say meet you, Iggy, but I've been an admirer of yours for 40 years. It's a great pleasure to see you. It's a really good question to end on. A lot of your contemporaries, we've lost a lot of your contemporaries recently, including your great pal David Bowie. Looking at you here and in the film, you not only seem alive, but extraordinarily alert and together and lucid. What's the secret?
Who's lucid? Me.
You are.
Well, I had really great parents, and I didn't listen to them. And then later in my life, I began to listen to them, especially to what my mother had to say. Just simple stuff like that. And then, you know, when I'm not doing this job, I go to bed early. You know, I try to limit. Well, that's not true. I was going to talk about my sex life, but that's not. Yeah, I think just that. You know, for some reason, I've seemed to have been able so far to regenerate from the various things that I put into myself. You know, I guess just by, you know, trying to take it easy or go to bed early, eat 3 squares, work reasonably hard, that sort of thing. Nothing fancy.
On that note, I'm afraid our time is up. Thank you very much, all of you, for being here today.
Thank you very much.